Okay, hey guys, welcome. We're starting another episode or another feature of Historical New York by Bike, and today we are in Astoria, New York, Astoria, Queens. Kind of hold this area pretty partial with myself, being born in the area, and pretty much grew up, you know, hanging out in this area and visiting this area quite a bit throughout my life. Although there are some great hidden secrets that we're going to discover today, right here in Astoria, Queens. Today's episode, we're going to start off with the first segment. I'm going to break it into segments, and we're going to start off with historical residences. And then we're going to take you to other historical landmarks in the area. So that being said, I'm making my way around this area here where you see some of the nice Dutch-inspired houses, and there's a reason behind that. The reason behind that is this particular area, specifically the section that we're in right now, is home to one of New York City's oldest residences, which was a Dutch residence built in the mid 1600s, I believe. It was owned by the Lents, and they were related to the Rikers and the Riker family cemetery, and Rikers would be the same famous name of the Rikers Island prison that was then put on that island that was once their property that they sold. So unfortunately, because it's nice summertime, beautiful weather, this particular property is very, very, very tucked away in the greenery. We're gonna have a very hard time seeing it right now. We might have to visit this back in the fall when the greenery dies away. But there's actually a cemetery, family cemetery, buried with a bunch of family members from the original landowners buried in this property. Very unusual for the city. As you can see straight ahead, unfortunately, there's a lot of cars parked there, and that cemetery is covered with greenery. And I'm going to try and turn and face the house right there. So it's kind of hard to see due to the greenery that's covering it. But behind all that, you can actually see one of the original historical Dutch houses and properties that still lies today here in Astoria, Queens. So there's not much to see on that one, unfortunately, because of the bushes and the trees covering up. It's not really a good view, but I figured that I would add that as a little bit of a bonus. And before we go to our main locations, just get that out there and you know, give you a little extra something and a little extra piece of history to look up, check out. And if you're in the area, by all means, take a look at it. Come down, take a look at it in person. It's a beautiful architecture. You don't see houses like that anymore. On that note, I'm going to resume this video when we get to our next stop. All right, and not too far down the block, or a couple blocks away, not too far down the road, we're going to reach our next historical spot, which we're going to start off with not a residence and then join that into the actual residences that coincide with that said location. So I don't know if many of you that follow the channel are interested in musical instruments or not, but basically Astoria has a famous street called Steinway Street, and here we are by Steinway Place, which is one block over, and this lies home to this amazing historical location, which I've had the very, very, very lucky privilege of actually getting to go inside and have a complete hands-on tour and spend the whole day in with a good friend of mine that used to work at this factory. So those of you who don't know or can't read it or can't make it out, this is the historical Steinway piano factory. So the next few spots are going to be based on pianos, and music, and the history of what the Steinway Piano Company has actually created here in the world, not even just America, in the world. So Steinway pianos are known worldwide for being some of the best pianos in the world ever made. This is their first original factory that was formed here probably in the late 1800s or mid 1800s, and it's the New York factory where some of the most famous pianos over the years have been created, handcrafted, and most sought out pianos were made. Very unique and different than their factory that they have now in Hamburg, Germany, where they also handcraft pianos. Now these pianos are made unbelievably by hand. When I tell you, each floor of that factory has several sections where specialized workers and people who spend a lifetime of training and craftsmanship that they had to train for to build these pianos. And the great part about it is that these pianos come from right here in Astoria, and it puts this place kind of on the map. And this was probably one of the first factories, or one of the first industrialized factories in this area, which turned out to be mostly an industrial area. At one point this was probably just empty land. When Steinway did come here and put this factory here, there's probably a lot of open space, and that's going to lead us to our next location. And as we see the Steinway factory, as I'm passing it on the right, that's the main entrance there to the lobby. They have a small parking lot, and this factory extends back pretty far. It's a dead end, so you can't really get any further from the street to get back there to see that. But I'm going to show you, I'm going to make a turn over here. I'm going to show you how far back it goes, so you can see that there's actually a second part of it, the older part of the factory. Now I'm going to face in here real quickly so you can see that whole section goes back all that far. And I'm going to get back over here and see if we can get the other section of it. So this factory goes all the way, almost a block long deep, that you can't really see from the street. So right there, you can see that that's almost another block or two deep in. That's another part of the factory. And I've been to both sections of the factory, and it's quite impressive. They have a little tiny kind of museum in there that has some of the first instruments that Henry Steinway built, and it's a really great experience. I don't know if they give tours any longer. They used to give tours to the public. I was fortunate to have a solo tour that was not a public guided tour, so I had a little bit more hands-on experience, which was probably one of the most exciting, interesting days that I've had. And that would be because I actually been playing Steinway piano for about 12 or 13 years now, that I purchased years back. And I love the piano, and I played on quite a bit of pianos over the time, and I actually could say that there's something magical and something unique about a Steinway, be it the sound, the feel, the craftsmanship. It's just a very, very nice made piano. And that's just a piece of history for the factory and the Steinway pianos. For those who don't know much about the pianos or have an interest in them, you can check them out. It's always recommended to check out older pianos, or pianos that were well cared for, rather than, you know, newer ones, because newer ones are quite expensive. So, and also with a piano, too old is no good if it's not cared for and taken care of the right way, and too new is also not going to be a problem, but it will need and require more adjustment until it kind of like settles in and kind of all falls into place. There's a lot of movement with, you know, because it's made out of wood and metal and strings and things stretch, tuning, and everything has to kind of fall into place. And that usually takes years of refinement to get to that point where the piano will become what they refer to as stable. So now, honoring the man, Henry Steinway. Steinway was a very, very generous and successful entrepreneur of his time. If you look to my right, you will see historical buildings. They don't look like much. People drive by them every single day and not even realize that these row of houses right here on my right hand side, and on the corner of each house there's a name: Winthrop Avenue, Albert Street. As you see, these streets are not named that anymore. It's 41st Street and 20th Avenue here in Queens. But if you look on the sides of the buildings, on the cornerstones, it says the names, because they changed the streets from street names. I don't know when, but a while back they did that, and they put number streets to make it a little easier to navigate around Queens. And as you see, that the end of the Steinway row houses just took place right there. And I just wanted to show you guys that these historical homes that are also very, very old were actually built by Henry Steinway for his workers. And he provided them with housing so that they would be close to the factory, close to home, and be able to have an easy commute. And in poor weather, they'd be very close to the factory, so it kind of worked out good for both of them. He provided them with that low income housing, I guess, of the time, or available housing where they would have a convenience to get to work, so it would actually benefit him and it would actually benefit them. So that's another piece of history that people drive by every single day in this now industrialized area of Astoria and have no clue what they are. They just think that they're old houses or old buildings. They have no idea that it had any affiliation with the Steinway row houses, that they are the Steinway row houses. And on that note, we're going to continue on, and I'm going to keep the camera rolling because this is great to see how close by all these different historical spots and locations are right here in Astoria. So as we go down here to 19th Avenue, where the factory was, I'm going to take you to, yes, in the same practice as his workers, Henry Steinway did in fact want to be close to his factory. I don't know the reasons why, but I think his location was a very, very good location, especially back in them days. There was probably not many factories around here, and it was probably a lot more quieter than you could see the non-stop traffic that's I'm trying to navigate around and through. But we're going to come down here by what's called now 41st Street, and I'm going to take you to see the home, well, the former home of the man himself. This is the Steinway Mansion. Now, don't let it fool you. It's also a little bit hard to see, especially in the summer, and it gets kind of drowned out by this building next to it and all the industrial locations and commercial buildings that were built up alongside it. But as you see towards your right, you will see, yes, a Victorian mansion in Queens. And if you take a good look to your right, there it is. So let me see if I can angle that up a little bit. As you can see, that in fact is the Steinway Mansion. We're going to keep going around, so see if we can get a better view. It's up on this little hill here. Come down here and we'll see if we can get a view from. It's going to be very hard. Now, I think that this was done intentionally for privacy, but I'm going to try and get a good view from here. And you can see it's a hard angle to see, but you can see that the bushes are put up there around the fence, and it's up on a hill, just in the manner so that it makes it almost like its own natural privacy. And you can see the grounds are very nice, but then unfortunately the area has changed to complete industrial area. Now back in the day up on that hill, you can see across over here, you can see the water, and you have a nice view over here. But power plant was built and all these other industrial buildings built, so that kind of took away from it. But nevertheless, it still has an amazing grandeur, and unfortunately not being able to get a good view of it from the street level doesn't really do it much justice. But we're going to go around the corner of it, and I don't think we're going to see much from the other side, but I'm going to give it a shot just to see if we're able to catch a little bit better view of it from the other side. Now, if you're very interested in this topic and the Steinway mansion, there's definitely pictures of it, maybe pictures of the inside of it, I think, online, pictures of the grounds that were professionally taken. But this is just to give you a feel of what it would be if you rode your bike, like I'm doing, around New York and discovered these hidden treasures that are just kind of tucked away. And like you can see on this side, you wouldn't even know there was a mansion. Look at that. There's absolutely no view of it. It's just all industrial shops, factories, warehouses. And that's all right. So welcome back to this final segment of this video. And as we approach our next destination, I'll give you a little rundown and a little piece of history, because that's what this channel is all about what you're about to see. So we've all heard stories, we've all heard legends. This next area is referred to as the Hell's Gate area of Astoria. And the reason why they call it Hell's Gate is because this is where, if you remember in the video at Roosevelt Island, that's down a little further down. But if you remember that video, when I said about how rough the waters are over there, well, this is really the mouth of the beast right now. Where we're going is where they refer to it as Hell's Gate. Now that is where all the crazy riptides and tides just kind of mesh in one spot, and they get really, really strong. And throughout the years, it's caused a lot of issues. And also, the mysterious part about it is there's also been, you know, unrelated things that have happened in the area that are possibly legend, possibly truth, who knows. Back in the early 1900s, I believe there was a steamship, the Slocum, that actually caught fire and sunk, and a lot of people lost their lives on that. And that's probably one of the biggest loss of life before the Titanic. Nautical loss of life before the Titanic was that U.S. Slocum, I believe it was called, or USS Slocum. It was a steamship, and that's just a little piece of fact about one of the other things that happened down here. Back in the 70s, one of the legends were there was a psycho killer that used to live in the bottom caverns of the Hell's Gate Bridge, which is where we're going to see that bridge shortly. And that's one of our spots right here at good old Hell's Gate. And first, before we go down the strip over here, you're going to see two famous bridges. The older one, I believe, being the Hell's Gate Bridge that was constructed about just over 100 years ago. And let me get down here by the water just to give you a view. So you can see there's some beach over here. Definitely some beach over here. I'm gonna just aim it down. Some like little bit of a beach with sand. And back in the day, I think people used to try and come down here and swim, but there was a lot of people that died. A lot of people that died because that just was just, the currents were too bad, the undertow was too rough. A lot of people succumbed to that, unfortunately. Sorry about that, I didn't mean to get my hand in the way of the camera. But as you can see, the water, which is surprisingly clear right now, you can see nice clear, which is very surprising for this for this type of thing. But yeah, there was a time where you couldn't even see a half a foot into the water. But as you can see, there's industry. Now on the other side there, that's that little island over there, I believe is Randall's Island or Ward's Island. They used to be two separate islands, but they did join those two islands together by landfill, I believe, to make it one giant island, like Randall's, Ward's Island. A lot of industry here, and you can see where those rocks are. And you can see, it's hard to see those tides out there. If you can take a peek at those little whirlpools, it actually creates miniature whirlpools, several of them, which makes the tide very difficult to get through. So difficult that leads us to our next piece of history, which is kind of linked into a lore, but not really. So just around this section, maybe almost closer to the Hell's Gate itself, closer to the Hell's Gate Bridge, there is there was the I forgot the name of it. There's a British frigate that was sailing through here carrying allegedly what today's value would be over $1 million, close to $4 million worth of gold in its hold. When these strong tides caused the ship to hit a reef of the rocks that you see, there's a lot of rocks in here, hit a reef or coral, I don't know, maybe it was coral, I don't know what it was, some type of reef or sea rock, causing the ship to sink. That ship sunk in 1780, just around the Revolutionary time, and there has been several attempts to try and locate the wreck. There's also been numerous other wrecks that have been reported but not confirmed, or some may have been confirmed. I would imagine that there's not much left of the wreck, being these ships were made of wood, and you're talking almost 200 years have gone by. You know, I don't really think there's gonna be much left of the ship, but in fact, if there was gold in the hold, it could be deep under the seabed right here. Now, there's been several people have tried to find it, but they have not found it yet, which means that there is probably, I would say, a very good chance that there is in fact somewhere under that seafloor bed that value of gold. Now, it might not be all in one spot, it might have been scattered, it might have been the tide kind of moving around, who knows, but there was a wreck site here, and that's just another little piece of history, another reason why they refer to this as Hell's Gate. As you can see, straight ahead is the Hell's Gate Bridge, constructed approximately about 100 years ago, a little bit more than 100 years ago. And this bridge was modeled after some of the bridges that were built over the rivers in Germany. That's how the architecture of the bridge was actually modeled after. So we're going to keep going forward. Behind it, I don't know if you can see behind it, it's kind of hard with these gates here. These gates weren't here. Of course, the day that I come here to film this video, there's construction everywhere, just like New York, and these high, tall gates that are kind of maybe inhibiting the view. But nevertheless, I'm going to do my best to try and get here and angle it so that you guys can get a better view of what I'm seeing right here. So let's try and get another view over here. All right. So the legend of that guy, that killer, that allegedly killed people, children, back in the 70s, that was an urban legend, I think. I don't think that's ever been confirmed. They said he lived in one of these towers, or at the bottom of the towers. And I think they said it was this side was the one. You'll see that there's a gate, and they actually write Hell's Gate. They did like a little mural, which I'll show you momentarily. Now behind that is a beautiful shot of the skyline, Manhattan skyline, with the Triborough Bridge. It's now called the Robert F. Kennedy Bridge. but back in the day it was actually referred to as the Triborough Bridge. This little strip here was probably one of my favorite spots to come when I was a younger guy with my car. And people would come here with cars, motorcycles, and just kind of hang out over here. There's a big hangout spot. Now they kind of blocked it off so there's no traffic going through it anymore. It's undergoing many of traffic patterns. It used to be 2 ways, then it was 1 way, now it's no way. So that's been closed. I'm gonna just stop here and show you guys a better view. You can really see how rough these tides are right here. I mean, just look at that. There's almost mini little white caps, and they look like tiny little whirlpools. And there's some bigger whirlpools out there too. This is very rough water. And as you see these rocks, when high tide comes in, you don't see these rocks. And that's probably how a lot of ships met their end coming in here. Being in a time where there was no radar and stuff like that, and you know, sonar, they had to navigate by sight and from prior written maps, and it was very difficult, and that's how a lot of ships met their end. Now, continuing on, we'll go to that tower. Now, just to give you another little piece of I guess knowledge here, this is also to my left Astoria Park. So this bridge, yes, it actually runs through the park, believe it or not. And this bridge actually was never for cars. Don't think there was ever a civilian walkway on it. There might have been, but I don't think there was. It was usually for trains and freight trains at that. And here is the infamous Hell's Gate, where it was said that the serial killer did in fact inhabit and live. Somebody painted a nice little mural of the bridge saying Hell's Gate or Hell Gate, and there's a gate there, which interesting enough, under that placard telling you about the bridge, which is really dirty and you can't really see it. It basically just says New York Connecting Railroad. It tells you a little history about the railroad. So that is the connecting railroad that connected New York City with, I believe, goes upstate. But there you have it. We're gonna keep going down this nice little strip here along this beautiful view, and you can get a view of the skyline of New York. It's a nice area. I really like it. Like most things, I like being by the water, where you have a nice cool breeze and, you know, just the sights of the city. It's quiet now, and that's always a nice thing. And there's a little bit low tide right now, which is great because we can see a lot of these little beaches, these little areas with the stones and the rocks, which is great. Because at night, or when the tide comes in, you ain't gonna see any of that. So looking right now, I'm gonna take you to this next little beach section right here, and I'll take a video of that. We have a family of it looks like Canadian geese, I think. Family of Canadian geese. I don't know if you can see that. I'm gonna pull up a little bit, and if you can see here, you see that little inlet type thing there? That would be completely submerged with water except for that tiny little rock on the top there. So you see that big, huge section of rock that's coming out here. Now, if a ship was coming down here, or a boat was coming down here at night, and they weren't aware of that, and they didn't have any type of navigational equipment, modern equipment, it would look like a tiny little piece of rock sticking out of the water, and they wouldn't even see that whole other section. And that little surface of the other stone there, it would be almost invisible. And if they're coming in at a decent speed, you know, not thinking there's anything there, that will destroy, especially a wooden vessel back in the time when they made ships and boats out of the wooden materials. What makes it so unique, how a mansion, a Victorian mansion, still stands here amongst all this. And on that note, I'm gonna shut the camera because we have a little bit of ways to go, and I don't want to just have video of me riding aimlessly. I want to keep the topics nice so that when we get there, I have more time to film and I'm not wasting the battery. I don't want to have that happen again, what happened in the last video. So I'm going to take a little break right here. I'm going to end this section and we'll start off again when we get to our next destination. Stuff. It would probably destroy just about any vessel, to be honest. Probably do a lot of damage even to metal, vessels made out of metal. I mean, even vessels made out of fiberglass. You would probably damage the hull badly to the point where the ship would probably take a catastrophic hit and take on water. But that's just another little view there to see how dangerous this particular area is and was when a lot of maritime traffic used to come through. So as we're approaching straight ahead, we're getting closer to the Triborough Bridge, or also now known as the Robert F. Kennedy Bridge. There actually was a sign, and you know what? I'm gonna turn around, and we're gonna check out that sign because it was talking about what I was talking about earlier, the General Slocum disaster. That's what we're going to take a look at right now. I believe this might be the spot. So what it says here on this sign, General Slocum disaster, Astoria Park. And I'm not going to read the whole sign to you because I don't want the camera to die out, but basically I'm going to give you the quick rundown. If you can't read it yourself, you can try and pause the video and try and actually take a look at it. But it was the morning of June 15, 1904 is when the steamboat General Slocum caught fire in the East River with approximately 1,300 people on board, including many children. In the course of 20 minutes, an estimated 1,021 people died. Prior to September 11, 2001, the burning of the General Slocum had the highest death toll of any disaster in New York City history. I thought it was maybe prior to the Titanic. That might be true as far as maritime is concerned, but in New York City history, that's it. Some of the rescue ships themselves caught fire while trying to get people off the General Slocum, and in 15 minutes the Slocum had burned to the waterline. And at that time it was President Theodore Roosevelt that appointed a commission of investigation, which determined that a number of casual factors led to the Slocum incident. They noted specific organizational leadership failings within the Steamboat Inspection Service and the agency of New York State government specifically created to prevent such tragedies. Yeah, so it looks like in 1906, just a couple years after that, the city dedicated a fountain in Tompkins Square Park in remembrance of those who died on the General Slocum disaster. Every year a ceremony is held at the fountain to honor the victims. Wow, look at that. That is something. But that just goes to show that whatever we talk about on the channel here, it's always going to be backed up by what I'd like to believe is truths. And here we go right here. That's a proof right there, and truth that actually did happen. All right, moving right along. I'm gonna keep going straight down here, and head down past the Triborough Bridge, and that will probably be the end of this little historical video today, showing this little tiny area that has a rich history of historical locations and incidents that took place in this part of Astoria. As we're leaving that section and under the Hell's Gate, now coming under the Triborough Bridge, or the Robert F. Kennedy Bridge. On that note, I'd like to say thank you again for watching. Thank you again for tuning in. And if you haven't done so already, if you like these videos that I'm making, if you like the content, if you want to see more, if there's stuff that I haven't covered that you want me to cover, send a comment in the comment section, like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe. Keep the channel going. You know, seeing you guys like and subscribe gives me the motivation to keep coming out and venturing out further and further and trying to make better and better videos for you guys and think of new ideas of things to take a look at. I'm gonna say smash that bell, get the notifications whenever my new videos come. Press that button with the bell. Like I like to say, smash the bell. Smash that bell and make sure you get all my new notifications whenever I post a new video. I'm posting a lot of videos right now to get the channel started up because it's a new channel. And once I get the channel established, I will probably slow that down a little bit. But I'm going to try and average about, you know, once or twice a week to keep videos going. But if I can't, I'll do my best. And your support will be greatly appreciated and will help me to continue pushing forward with that. And as always, I hope you enjoyed this one. And I'll tell you to be safe, get on a bike, go visit the city, visit your local areas, historical spots, find those historical places, keep them alive, keep the thoughts of it alive, never forget, keep this history rich and keep it knowledgeable. Don't allow modern day life to erase the rich history that these areas have been created by. And on that note, have a great day, be safe and take care.